Right, so Keir Starmer, as many of you will know if you watch on a regular basis, is not a guy I think highly of whatsoever. And I pretty much think he's one of the biggest dangers to society going. That's all before he's even got the keys to number 10. Because even before he reaches power, he's showing how dangerously ignorant and stupid he is. And once again, this concerns the issue of Northern Ireland and an Irish Reunification Referendum. Now, it was only a couple of months ago that I did a video where he implied he might violate the Good Friday Agreement on this issue, but now he's come out and he's basically confirmed it. Well, he needs to read the Good Friday Agreement still, because clearly he hasn't, and he also needs to realise what the optics will be like on the island of Ireland for a London-based Westminster politician arbitrarily imposing diktat on another country, as this can easily be seen to be. What he is doing and saying is illegal, and he's endangering peace in Northern Ireland with his bias, his ignorance and his arrogance. Right, so Keir Starmer has already been running his mouth off and causing consternation ahead of Labour conference, even beginning with regards to Northern Ireland, having managed to make matters even worse after he put his foot in it over the matter back in August, which I have covered previously. Now, without going over everything I spoke about then, the 2021 Northern Irish census for the first time showed a majority Catholic population, and under the terms of the agreement, should a majority of the population of Northern Ireland want one, or the perception of a majority is there by the UK government, a referendum on Irish reunification, the North rejoining the Republic of Ireland potentially, should be held. It's built into the agreement. It is a legal condition of it. Starmer previously hinted that if such a referendum were to be held, he would campaign for Northern Ireland to remain in the Union. And this was bad enough, because actually Westminster has no say in the matter. Absolute zero. And so neither does the arrogant Starmer. The actual line in the agreement that is relevant to this states, "It is for the people of the island of Ireland alone, by agreement between the two parts respectively, and without external impediment, to exercise their right to self-determination." In other words, it is for the people of the island of Ireland to decide this. Nobody else gets a say. That includes you, Keith. Well, it seems he might not be very happy about this prospect. How dare these Irish people think they can freeze me out? Who do they think they are? Do they not know who I am? I'm important. And so he's gone and said now that a referendum on Irish unification would be ruled out by him in power. He told BBC Northern Ireland on the question of a reunification referendum, "I don't think we're anywhere near that kind of question. It's absolutely hypothetical. It's not even on the horizon." Now, it wasn't just me that's called into question Starmer's familiarity with the Good Friday Agreement. Jeremy Corbyn said that perhaps he ought to actually read it before opening his ignorant cakehole back in August, but it seems he still hasn't done so. Effectively, the position he's taking is that even though it might be clear to the UK government that a majority in favour of reunification was there, or the perception of it, he'd ignore that fact. Now, back in August, this position put Starmer somewhat at odds with his then Northern Ireland Secretary Peter Kyle, who said if the conditions for a referendum were met, he would be prepared to call one. However, he's since been shuffled out of that post and replaced with Hillary Bomber Ben. And between him and Starmer, they're more fixated on getting Stormont functioning once more. And a statement like this is only designed to appeal to the right-wingers over there, the Unionists, the DUP. It's the blatant reassurance to them. But this language endangers the decades-long peace the Good Friday Agreement brought in. It breaks faith with the people of Northern Ireland as far as self-determination goes. And it's a dangerous game born out of a sheer ignorance, in my opinion. The Good Friday Agreement took this out of the hands of Westminster on purpose. So it all very much sounds like a ballot needs to be taken in order to prove to Westminster, certainly if it's a Westminster led by Keir Starmer, that the conditions for a referendum, that the majority of the people of Northern Ireland want a referendum on unification. If such a thing were organised, would Starmer butt out of it? It would be illegal for him to interfere, campaign one way or the other, and sign of any sign of anything like that, and the result would be nullified, you would think, surely. Do you honestly believe Starmer would stay out of it? I don't. He's too full of himself. He's too self-important, and I don't think he'd allow a rerun after he interfered. But let's argue he abided by the conditions for a moment, and keeps his nose out of it, though. And a majority do vote in favour of unification. What would he do then? Refuse? Again, he'd be breaking the law. In my view, he'll do what he can to stop a proven majority say that they're in favour of a referendum. To my mind, he'll try and stymie the process instead. He'll interfere to stop it happening. And with Stormont not functioning, it's hard to see actually how any of this can be formally organised to begin with. But that's not to say Starmer doesn't want Stormont up and running. He does, and Ben does. But when he's appealing to the interests of the DUP, whose popularity is waning in favour of the more left-wing Sinn Féin, who are absolutely pro-referendum, it could well be that Sinn Féin holding a majority right now as they currently do, the very reason Stormont is shut after all, because if the DUP aren't in charge, they spit their dummies out, pick their balls up and go home. Even this more subtle level of interference can be interpreted as violating the Good Friday Agreement, though. It's not for someone in London to dictate to the island of Ireland what they can and can't do, to interfere in democratic, legislated process. Yet this is what Starmer is implying he would do by saying, despite the results of that Northern Irish 2021 census, that this is not on the horizon. He can't know that without the question being asked. If you get Stormont up and running again, as much as that is necessary to the efficient running of Northern Ireland, it also allows Sinn Féin to organise proof that a majority of Northern Irish people want that reunification. The DUP keep on playing into their hands by causing the place to be shut down every time they don't get their own way, after all. I can't imagine how fed up a lot of people over there must be to never having a functioning government, and the DUP are absolutely resolute in keeping things that way until Sunak's Windsor framework is binned, despite that being genuinely beneficial to Northern Ireland. Their ideological insanity literally harming the lives of everyone who lives in Northern Ireland right now. Reunification would end that, you would imagine. And these self-serving batshit unionists would be completely neutered and cease to have a reason for being, hence why they're opposed to it. The fact is, the people of Ireland have a right to decide this, though. It's not a case of it not being on the horizon. They're closer to it now than at any other point in the 100-plus year history of Northern Ireland's existence. And it isn't just about unity, or power, or Keir Starmer trying to show himself to be tough, as opposed to a complete dumbass. The Good Friday Agreement brought the end of the Troubles, the end of the killing, and rhetoric like his risks it beginning again if a Westminster government cannot be trusted to act in good faith. It's for the people of Ireland to decide their future. It's not for any British Prime Minister, whoever they be, however big-headed they are, to say no to. Starmer would do well to sit down and actually, for heaven's sake, read the Good Friday Agreement and understand it before mouthing off about things he's completely ignorant of. And he'd also do worse than to read some James Connolly too, despite his allergy to socialism, because Connolly said the British government has no right in Ireland, never had any right in Ireland, and never can have any right in Ireland. And that's as true today as it was more than 100 years ago when he said it. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily, and do leave a comment below as well. Have your say on this story. Be part of the conversation too. What do you make of Starmer's stance? Can you see him causing a crisis with his ignorance and arrogance in Northern Ireland? Do let me know your thoughts. I do love to read them. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation, more on the problems Starmer caused with his previous comments back in August, more of the ramifications of his actions that I didn't go over again here, and I'll hopefully see you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.